So LA Knight loses to Gunther in the last time is now tournament finals. He is not going to face John Cena. Gunther is going to have that distinct honor, and potentially Gunther is going to make John Cena tap out, pass out, you never know, we'll find out soon. But the big question I have, not only about LA Knight, but also a couple of other superstars on the roster right now, what's next? What do you do next with certain superstars? The video idea came to me as I just thought about LA Knight losing, and I really did enjoy their matchup, Gunther and Knight on SmackDown. I thought it was one of LA Knight's better performances. He's not a 5-star match classic kind of guy, and that also is to give credit to Gunther, because along this whole tournament, he's had really great matches, in my opinion. But Knight is done. And we have Saturday night's main event, which is shaping up right now to have like 3 matches. The Cena finals, Bayley is going to have a match with Sol Ruka, and then you have Obafemi challenging Cody Rhodes, which I'm very intrigued about. Then we have to wait until the Royal Rumble in the new year. So what do you do with an LA Knight? What is his story? What do you think is the best move to get him to almost WrestleMania? Right now, he feels lost. And when you back up a couple of weeks, his main focus has been just this tournament. His entire storyline that he was involved in when it comes to CM Punk and getting the World Heavyweight Championship, the Vision, dealing with them for several months, like half a year. All of that seems to be gone, and then he entered into the tournament. That has been his focus. Now he's lost in the tournament finals. So what's he gonna do? Is he gonna get just a random opponent on SmackDown, on Raw? Is he gonna be on main event and start showing up there? Can they find something intriguing? And I think that's part of the problem here with someone like LA Knight, is his character feels stuck. I think one thing you can do is turn him heel. Have LA Knight become frustrated. Get him just angry that the crowd has, yes, been behind him, they cheer for him, they yeah with him, but it's not enough. He's losing matches constantly. He's not getting TV time. He can play into all of that if WWE would let them and create the LA Knight Eli Drake character that he once was. LA Knight has a chip on his shoulder. It always feels that way anyways, at least to me, that it's always kind of from underneath. He can't quite get the job done. In some cases, he does go on a good run and he's highly entertaining, but it feels like now is the time to make a change. If he stays in his current position as a babyface and doing what he's doing, I do feel like it's not enough, because I don't know of any other bad guys you could throw at LA Knight that makes sense. Does he fight Solo again and the MFTs? Does he get involved with the Wyatts? They're kind of good guys now, and they're doing their whole story. Do you have him fight Aleister Black? Do you have him just go and get involved in the US title with Ilya and try to put on just a banger match? But those are like one-off matches. And again, 2 baby faces. I think that's part of what I feel is missing with LA Knight for about a year. The lack of personal feuds. I don't need him to be in a blood feud like Punk and Drew did and it culminates at Hell in a Cell, but it feels to me like that is part of what is missing. He doesn't have a big adversary, somebody that he can always point to as that is his main feud. When he had the Logan Paul feud, I thought it did a lot of good stuff in terms of the vignettes, you know, LA Knight showing up at Logan Paul's house and he's in the pool. I thought all of it was entertaining, and it was at least a really straightforward story they were telling. To me, it turned the guy heel, so then it opens up the doors for whoever he wants to feud with. And I do think that with WWE, that is kind of a larger problem right now, is that there are so many baby faces, and the heels, there's not a lot at the very top. It's kind of Drew McIntyre and the Vision. That's it. I know there are other heels on the card, but they're so much further down. And everybody at the top being baby faces, it's a lot of can they coexist or shake hands and let's have respect matches. We need some guys to get beat down. I need a big baddie to destroy LA Knight, or I need LA Knight to turn on a super over babyface and to snap and go full LA Knight Eli Drake. Yeah, dummy. But what about somebody else? Like a Jey Uso. Jey, I feel like, is an interesting spot, because if you listen to the internet at all, which is a very dangerous thing to do, and I don't recommend it very much, but he's very much just kind of meh. People are not into Jey. The live crowd still is. I keep saying this almost every week. Live crowd loves Jey Uso, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the fact that it's not somebody that I connect with is okay as well. It's not for me. I don't enjoy the yeeting and the run it back and all of that stuff. That doesn't speak to me. But I see the kids in the crowd in the audience, and they're, 8, 9 years old, and they're doing it, and they got the Jey merch and the sunglasses and everything, and they are loving it. Well, that's the audience, maybe. And I really enjoyed Jey Uso when he was in the Bloodline because it was a lot of character work. And that's one thing that I'm hopeful we can see with Jey. And what's to come next for Jey is a really big breakout character change for the next few months going to WrestleMania. Now's your chance for your WWE. You've gone through this lull, and I feel like the fall into Survivor Series was the big lull because you kind of had to get War Games over with and hit the reset button with a couple of characters. Jey being one of them. Jey snapping on Raw because he lost to LA Knight was awesome. I want them to really explore this though, because they've hinted and teased this for weeks and months of siding with Roman, listening to the tribal chief. Roman's not around, so they don't acknowledge any of it. Acknowledge me. They don't bring it up. And Jey going crazy on Raw and crashing out, as the youth will say, is something that I want to see them do more. Not necessarily go nuts every single week, but Jey should kind of lose, in my eyes. I don't need Jey and everybody here to just be like, well, they need to turn heel or they need to turn babyface. I think Jey should stick with what he's been doing. He doesn't need to be a bad guy, but he needs to have obstacles. He needs to lose so that he can be brought down further and further so he can eventually rise up a little bit more. And if he's making mistakes and he's got different people in his ear, you could see the character change. You want somebody that is struggling internally, especially Jey with so much history with the bloodline. Make mistakes and there be consequences to stuff. And this could be great because Jey could get out of the world title scene, especially because we're going into Mania season. I don't think he's sniffing that world title, nor should he, but a really good, compelling personal story could work. Now, I mentioned WrestleMania, and there are rumors going around about who's next and what the possible main events for WrestleMania could be. One of the ideas that I've seen thrown around is Bron Breakker versus CM Punk for the world title. And I've seen some other combinations for CM Punk for the world title. If that is penciled in, is that the right move for WrestleMania? Does Bron Breakker go on to win the Royal Rumble? Because again, with the kind of the thesis of this video is what's next? What do you do next? Bron Breakker, I feel, after his promo on Raw, which, by the way, is an interesting kind of split with the audience. Because what I see in comments here is people saying, this was great, I loved Raw, and I loved Bron Breakker's promo. And then I see another chunk of people that are just like, I hated it, I thought it was stupid, it didn't do anything for me. I'm more on the camp of like, I liked it. I thought it was actually really compelling for Bron to talk, because it's something he doesn't get to do a lot. What's next for Bron Breakker, though? You have a long time to build to the Royal Rumble. And I think you're going to want to position Bron Breakker as somebody that is going for a clear path to get to WrestleMania. At least stand out in the Rumble. Not spearing ISHO speed and doing any gimmicks. I think you need Breakker to maybe even start #1 in the Rumble. And does he go all the way to the end to win the whole thing? To kind of solidify him really as a main eventer. Because right now, as we finish War Games and you got that promo on Raw, we know that Breakker's going to fight Punk in January on Raw for the title. I feel like that gets kind of derailed. Masked Attacker, something goes on that's going to hinder Breakker from winning the title. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe Breakker does win the belt, drops it to Punk before Mania, and then goes on to WrestleMania to try to get it back. Who knows? But I do think that if you're WWE, if you have enough time, the time is now, so to speak, to get Breakker heated up. He needs week after week to be showcased, focused on Raw, leading to this title match that's going to happen in January, to make him feel like he's a very credible threat. He can win the belt. So speaking of CM Punk as your World Heavyweight Champion, what is next? Because one of the other rumored matches for Punk was Punk versus Reigns at WrestleMania. Now, I think that is quite the main event. Do you have like Roman Reigns win the Chamber or Roman Reigns win the Royal Rumble and he chooses CM Punk and he goes for the World Heavyweight Championship? Maybe, maybe not. Because some people have pointed out that like Roman's talked about the world title being like the B title and he doesn't need it. And I also don't see Roman really going after that title other than you are trying to solidify CM Punk even higher. That he beats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania and it is a WrestleMania main event worthy match. It's a night 1 or night 2 main event. I wouldn't see Roman win the belt. It'd be kind of interesting with the world title around him, but he's not around a whole heck of a lot. And I think you need champions on TV regularly. Like, I'd be more interested in Bron Breakker winning the belt because then he could defend it more often. Because if you look at SmackDown, the WWE title with Cody, it's not defended a whole heck of a lot on TV. Neither is the world title, but you know what I mean? It's a little more infrequent. If you give it back to Roman, if you give Roman the world title, I feel like the frequency of title defenses goes down overall. But the other rumored match involving Roman Reigns is Cody Roman 3. Do you do that? Is that really what's next for Roman Reigns? And even to that matter, for Cody Rhodes. I guess they teased it at War Games, the two of them talking at the very end of the match. I feel like it's too soon. You want to do Cody Reigns 3 for the title? It doesn't, it's a big match, but we've seen it twice, and we've seen it recently. It gets into the neighborhood of Brock Roman, in my eyes, where you've done it over and over again. Maybe that's more of a SummerSlam match, because you're going to do 2-night SummerSlams. But if you want to do it as like a trilogy, then the trilogy ends at WrestleMania. Maybe you wait another year. Is Cody and Roman compelling enough for this next WrestleMania? It totally is, because you've had this amazing history between these two guys. But at the end of it, I'm like, we've done this. We've had Cody not successfully get the title at 39. We've seen him finish the story at 40. Are you going to go again at 42? Unless you were going to do something super intriguing at the end of that match. Someone getting involved. Randy Orton turning heel, coming out and taking out Cody. The Rock showing up for no reason. Something, you know what I mean? You'd have to have a very compelling hook other than, let's do this match and let's do the third match of it so we can play off the history, pyro. And does Cody just retain? Because again, if Roman wins, he disappears with the belt for a while. So I mentioned Randy Orton because he is somebody I'm very curious about what's next. He's been off TV for a while, and Randy at this stage in his career, we kind of understand he comes and goes. He'll do a program and he might disappear for a month, or he goes on a huge stretch where he is on TV all the time. I think Randy comes back full swing for Mania season, where he is coming back maybe at the Royal Rumble, if not sooner, on a SmackDown. But Drew McIntyre is right now busy with Cody. Cody on SmackDown is telling Aldis to reinstate Drew because he wants to fight Drew for the 18th time just to beat him, because Drew McIntyre's not winning the title, and I wish he would, but I don't think that's happening. I think the way you're going to spice up this story is if you bring back Randy and insert him into this dynamic of Drew and Cody. Kind of like Kevin Owens, where it was Kevin, Cody, and Randy all mixing it up while Kevin Owens was turning bad. You have a huge bad guy in Drew. You have history of Drew and Randy, Drew and Cody, Cody and Randy and their friendship. And I think, like they talked about, and it's been reported that at WrestlePalooza, they wanted to do the title change, maybe because of what Randy Orton did. I think they could pull the trigger on that. Do you go ahead with a Royal Rumble match of Cody versus Drew one more time? Do it in a Hell in a Cell, but then have Randy get involved and Randy attacks Cody to set up a match for WrestleMania. Randy didn't get that huge match at Mania the previous year, right? He had the Joe Hendry match. He was supposed to have Kevin Owens, and that was going to blow off their feud, and Kevin got injured, and that was awful. So they had to pivot. But now you have an opportunity, and you don't have much time left, where you can really utilize Randy Orton in a big, big way. We still don't know the attacker also for Jacob Fatu, and when Fatu comes back, and what's next for him. Maybe he's involved, because he was teasing trying to get into a match with Cody and going into the WWE Championship program. But Randy and Cody, I think, is something we could see going into WrestleMania. At least that's what I hope is next for the guy. But I'm going to close with this next person, because they're in a very interesting spot, a very high-profile position. And I am curious about what's next over the next several months. Gunther. Gunther is going to Saturday Night's Main Event for John Cena's final match. Don't know how it's going to end. Obviously, we're all going to watch it. I don't know if you're going to have Cena beat Gunther so he can go out on top triumphantly, or are you going to have what I kind of imagine, Gunther making Cena tap out or pass out. Cena has rarely in his career given up by submission. His entire thing as a character has been never give up. It's his whole mantra of life. What if he does? What if he taps out or passes out? Gunther beat LA Knight with submission, kind of like a crossface, reverse crossface there that he did. It was kind of cool. I can see the same thing being done to Cena. That's what I see happening. And it'll probably be wrong. It'll be something else. Maybe it'll be something really interesting. If you're WWE, I think with Gunther, you have some options. So then Gunther walks around and says, I retired Cena. I retired Goldberg. I'm longest Intercontinental Champion, 2-time World Heavyweight Champion. What's next for that guy? On paper, if you're just looking at the storyline for him, probably makes sense that he wins the Royal Rumble, right? He hasn't done it yet. And if he's going to come off of that momentum of beating Cena, presumably, Gunther winning the Rumble, I think makes a ton of sense. And then deciding which championship does he go after is even more intriguing. Would he go after his World Heavyweight title and try to get it back from Punk? Does he change over and go and focus on Cody and the WWE Championship? That I find more interesting for Gunther, because Cody In my eyes, he needs way bigger adversaries, and he needs fresh matchups. He has faced Gunther like one time. I need to see that in a proper feud. And Gunther winning the title and beating Cody at Mania is a big deal. And then you've brought Gunther all the way to the very top, as high as you can go, fighting Cody Rhodes and beating Cody. Again, in character and story, I think it makes sense that Gunther goes down that path because of all the momentum he's created. If he doesn't do any of that, do you do it as simple black and white as Gunther versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? Can't forget about Brock. They're gonna have him at WrestleMania. He's been in the Mania 42 commercials. He's gonna do something. And Gunther and Brock was a rumored match from a couple years ago. This is another way if you were trying to solidify Gunther, which I don't think he needs it, by the way. But if you're trying to build Gunther as a next guy, which again, I already think he is quite established. You have him face Brock at Mania one-on-one. Maybe they take each other out at the Rumble. You just do two big guys and Gunther beats Brock. And then after WrestleMania, maybe it's then you have Gunther switch over to SmackDown and he fights Cody or whoever's champion. And he goes for the different title on a different show. Because I do feel SmackDown's lacking that heel division, bad guys, for someone like Cody to fight against. But there's a ton more names to go through, men and women, and what's worked and even what's not in WWE, specifically on Raw. If you guys want to talk about Raw and what really didn't work that well for 2025, then click this video right here because that's what we're going through. Have a great day. See ya.